Too many black bodies falling. Come on, brothers, love one another. Put down the gun. Let's go. Any place, anytime, anyone can get it. Bust that gap, pills of water when I wet it. I owe niggas shots like doctors paid on credit. The white good K kid who wanna catch it. Nigga claim gangsta, let me see him rep it. Dog want a bone, come fight or fetch it. It's hectic. We caught him heading for the exit. Cat straight pussy, hold spot like a leopard. I come with crook and flail the flock, need a shepherd. Hang with hooks and nails, the Glock, spray like pepper. Clear out the block, then moving like a settler. Chop down trees, make it rain like the weather. They call me king of rock, I'm tougher than leather. With the heavy clip, figure light as a feather. With the HK, I'm like Koch with the heckler. Play my pawns like chess, this ain't checkers. I'm reckless, and you caught up in the nexus. New Jersey drive, my dude about the Lexus. Gun real big, like I get them shits from Texas. Hollow tip, hollow out, core solo plexus. My nigga reckless, he's living reckless. Snatch your itch hill, snatch your necklace, a hooligan and wretched. I'll cast like a leper. Nightfall hit, he get it quick like a leopard. In the jungle, makes you humble. Where seas don't wave and bees don't fumble. Put up, player, I hear it off and tumble. I suggest y'all niggas step before y'all niggas stumble. Any place, anytime, anyone can do it. Putting bodies in the casket, family's gonna view it. Mother carried flowers, father never knew it. Wasn't there to raise the baby, and the block won't excuse it. YG claimed blood, OG said prove it. Try to push weight, but little nigga couldn't move it. First he starts to use it, then he starts to lose it. Now blood on his door like the little nigga Jewish. Caught up on the block, twisted like a Rubik's. Bricks weighing grams, caskets measure cubits. Bodies keep dropping, families going through it. Brothers on the run like Jesse, you can do it. Living fast and furious with guns in the Buick. Everybody stick them up, and I ain't trying to glue it. Lawyers out to sue it. The courts won't excuse it. Black body in the chair, and the judge said executed. Think this shit is glorious? My nigga, don't be stupid. Mother broken hearted, but the shooter wasn't Cupid. Evil goes around like the devil chopped and screwed it. 3-6 mafia like Bishop started juicing. My nigga reckless, he's living reckless. Snatch your itch hill, snatch your necklace, a hooligan and wretched. I'm cast like a leper. Nightfall hit, he get it quick like a leopard. In the jungle, makes you humble. Where seas don't wave and bees don't fumble. What up, player? I hear it off and tumble. I suggest y'all niggas step before y'all niggas stumble.
Never drive off immediately.
Hold it now. Yeah, I can't be doing commercial spots for hey, can't do that. What's up, y'all? This is Hakim Green, live and direct on the Hakim Green Show. Got a special one lined up for you guys tonight. Very, very special guest. I've known this woman, this powerful young lady, for some time, former executive at Def Jam, behind the scenes, leading the plans for some of your favorite artists, Jay-Z, DMX, Eric Sermon. The list goes on and on and on. We're going to talk about all that when she pops in. Also going to talk about what she's got going on right now with VRTEXX. That's VRTEXX, which is a company that discovers and the same thing she did over at Def Jam, she's going to be doing for the next generation of West African artists. We're going to get into all of that and what she's got going on at Howard University. A lot to discuss with her. But of course, for the next half hour or so, we'll just be talking about what's going on in the world. Before I get there, let me do this. Let me not speed. Of course, this is Hakim Green on the Hakim Green Show. But I am the Madism guy. Got the Madism Sports Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And we got MadismInc.com, where we're pushing the hip-hop movement as it has to do with cannabis. All we do is spark Madism. You already know what that's about. We got the website, we got the gear, and we have information on how hip hop has been so pivotal in the cannabis community. Also, you can get some music from HakimGreen.com, MadismInc.com. Takes you to the same place. You can get new music from me there as well. But also have another powerful movement that I'm sure you guys know about, and that's 24 Hours of Peace. 24 Hours of Peace. The festival, of course, is the event we do in Newark, New Jersey every year, pushing peace, love, unity, safely having fun. We have 24 Hours of Peace Inc.com. That's 24HRSOFPEACEINC.com. And we got, represent peace, love, unity, safely having fun. And then, of course, it's more about the movement. So I need you guys to go check us out at 24hoursofpeaceinc.com. This year's event, by the way, is going to be on August 21st, August 22nd, live and direct in Newark, New Jersey. We're coming back to the South Ward where 24 Hours of Peace was born. Big shout out to the South Ward. Councilman Pat Council, he'll be hosting us. Of course, the mayor, and everybody involved. The Brick City Peace Collective, Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, everybody involved with keeping Newark safe will be there. And of course, we're going to have some of your, legendary artists and artists that are kind of like, you know how we do. I mean, we've had everybody from Latifah, KRS, of course, Fat Joe, Talib Kweli, Common Sense, Faith Evans, Maya, The Baddies, Fabio Foreign, G Herbo, Fabulous, Lil C, Smith & Wesson, DOS Effects, Juice Crew All-Stars. The list goes on and on and on. RL, Case, G-Dep, Cool G Rap. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Rod Digger, Roxanne Shante, Yo-Yo, Moni Love, Lady of Rage. And we're going to do it just as big this year, August 21st, 2026 in Newark, New Jersey. Big shout out to the great city of Newark, New Jersey. Big shout out to Mayor Raz Baraka. Make sure y'all go out and vote in Newark, New Jersey on May 12th, because that's what it's all about. It's about letting your voice be heard. It's about exercising, a lot of things that we had earned in our time here in America. I represent hip hop all day, every day, but like my brother's Dead Prez said, it's bigger than hip hop. It's bigger than hip hop. And unfortunately, I think we lose sight of the fact of, what's important. And we get caught up in the entertainment. Of course, social media has exploded and everybody's utilizing social media as a form of entertainment, myself included, of course, the Hakim Green Show, Madism Sports, XYZ. But, we can't look at things, and forget about the politics of the matter. Now, when I say the politics of the matter, politics is relationships. Politics is your relationship to power and what power is. Hip hop is a culture, and we can utilize hip hop to gain some form of power. But the level of power that our people need, because remember, it's bigger than hip hop. The level of power our people need, we were able to gain a crumb during the 60s, 70s, late 50s. We know about the Civil Rights Movement. We know about the Voting Rights Act that was passed, the Civil Rights Act that was passed. We know about a lot of investment that this nation/corporation, however you want to frame it, they were forced to invest in the people. When we say the people, we mean Black people. And when we invest in Black people, we invest in everybody. So the gains that were made by Black people in the 60s and the 70s, women were able to enjoy a lot of those benefits, including white women were able to enjoy a lot of those benefits. Folks that we now consider immigrants, people who came in after, we were able to get these laws instituted. They got to benefit from the movement, from the actual struggle to gain power, struggle to open up the doors to power, to gain access to power. education is a key component to getting access to power. And we know that, historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, as we call them, during the last 40, 50 years were invested in largely due to the struggle for power. There's programs specifically for, people affected by the vestiges of slavery and 100 years of Jim Crow. And like, that was something that we fought for to gain access. So even when we talk about, the Black Panther Party, and being about do for self and investing in self, and then starting systems to invest in self as Black and poor people, women, infant children. The WIC program was created by the Black Panther Party. Breakfast programs were not implemented in American schools until the Black Panther Party served breakfast for the community in the early part of the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. They got smashed on. They got disrupted. They got jailed, murdered, exiled, in the fight for power, in the fight to open up channels where the people can be invested in the very same things that they were villainized for. This system would end up incorporating in their systems, not just for Black people, but for all people. Because if none of us, if one person don't eat, nobody eats. If they'll do it to them, they'll do it to you. There's been a fight by the other side to take back the power that was gained in the late 60s, early 70s. They've been taking shots at it ever since then. When we look at what happened in the 80s with Reaganomics and trickle-down theory and crack cocaine, and when we look at what happened with the crime bill in 1994. So Republican, Democrat, it don't matter. Over the course of the last 50, 60 years, there's been a fight to kind of curtail our access to the rights that we fought for, or take those rights back. Okay. That said, I got sent by my wonderful producer, Jamel Ridgway, a clip of Van Lathan, who I really admire the work that the brother does. Of course, he was on TMZ for some time. Where we at? He was on TMZ for some time, and now he has his own podcast, and he does a very good job of detailing our affairs as Black people. Soon the congressional. I'm just trying to find this. Okay, there we go. Boom. Let me do that. And I'm going to do that. Wait a minute.
Black people to be full citizens in America, Black people have done. Mm-hmm. Said buy land. We bought the land. Have families. We had the families. Mm-hmm. Said establish your own businesses, your own communities where you don't have to deal with what we did that. Every single move to manufacturing hubs where jobs are. We did it. And every single time we did it, white people went, no. Every time. You bought land, they came and took the land. White terrorism, contract buying schemes. That's my land now. You're going to go buy a house. You're going to establish wealth. Well, no, you can't buy that house. We've redlined you out of that. Schools, you get the school. They burn the school down, fuck the school up, defund the school. They are saying no to all of it. They dropped bombs from the sky before they will let you niggas have anything. This fucking guy right here, Edward Blum, this fucking dude, right, sees Black women in tech going, you know what? We're underrepresented in tech. We're not getting what we should be getting from VCs all over the place. We will take that and we will do it for ourselves. White America says no. He is using his power to gut any type of organization and movement and action that Black people can do on behalf of themselves. This is a contemporary problem with a deep historical lineage of white people going, you will never, ever, ever, no matter what you try to do, be a part of the society that brought you over here as property. It cannot happen, because if you build your own power base, if you work together, if there is unity, if there's consciousness and purpose, you will threaten us, and we can't have that. For us, by us. That's what this country is.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Excuse me, y'all. Yeah. So For Us by Us, Blueprint was, pitched to us back in the early 90s with FUBU, For Us by Us. But it's something that we really need to hone in on, because that's the way the powers that be treat things. For us, by us. Our Edward Bloom, the gentleman that he was talking about, I just want to get some information on him, because it's really important to understand the fight we're up against and who's actually on the other side of things. I think that's extremely important to know what's going on in the attacks on Black people. Let me get myself out of here so it expands. There we go. Edward Bloom, born January 9th, 1952, is an American conservative activist and legal strategist known for his decades-long effort to end race-conscious policies in the United States. Though not a lawyer himself, he has successfully orchestrated several landmark cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, key roles and organizations. Bloom serves as the president and director of several influential legal organizations. He's a student for fair admissions, which is SFFA, the group that filed the lawsuit against Harvard and the University of North Carolina, leading to the 2023 Supreme Court decision effectively ending affirmative action in college admissions. Project on Fair Representation, a nonprofit he founded in 2005 that provides legal counsel for race-related cases, including Shelby County versus Holder. American Alliance for Equal Rights, his latest venture, founded in 2023, which targets diversity programs in the corporate world, law firms, and venture capital. And then, you can Google him yourself. Major legal victories, affirmative action, successfully challenged race-conscious admissions in students for fair admissions versus Harvard 2023, voting rights, orchestrated Shelby County versus Holder 2013, which struck down a core provision of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Lord, it's scary out there. We fought for the right to vote for a reason. We fought for the right to vote for a reason. And I know there's a lot of folks out there who don't agree with voting. They say it's a waste of time. Believe me, if it was a waste of time for us to exercise our right to vote, they wouldn't try so hard to deny us the right to vote. Understanding, the channels of power and how to leverage channels of power is extremely important. To be organized enough to put yourself in position to demand power is important, and we don't need folks shutting the doors to that access. They are doing just that. Now, for me, it's do two things. It's one, keep fighting for access to those channels of power, because those channels are very much needed. And at the same time, create our own, identify points of power within our own sphere of influence, and organize that power so we can leverage that power to get any and everything we want. I'm really sick and tired of the concept of it's this or that. It's this and that. It's not one or the other. It's this and that. It's we need our own, and we need access to our rightful position in what we've created, which is the United States of America. We helped create this. We were a very huge part in creating this, and without us, this doesn't exist. So in that, we need ours back. We need our investment back. We don't need to walk away from what we've already invested in. I know there's talk about reparations. There's been talk about reparations for decades, actually. That conversation is really not a new conversation. I always say they're not going to give us reparations. We're going to have to take reparations. We have to take reparations. And that means putting folks in position of power so they can create laws that give us our fair share. That's what we did in the 60s, and we did a lot, but we were supposed to take the baton and pass it, and we've been fumbling the baton ever since. I know, again, people push back on the idea of quote unquote needing the system, needing this government. It's not about needing the government. It's about us getting our fair share. You have communities in New Jersey that have totally infiltrated whole communities so they could suck off the welfare. Suck off the welfare. Let me see. This is, yeah, I think this is what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to line something up. Oh, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, excuse me, y'all. I'm trying to line something up. Let me get rid of this. Oh, we're going to get rid of that. Okay. My producer sent me something, and I'm trying to find it. Oh, it's right there. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm fumbling around, fumbling and bumbling, but I'm glad you're in the building. This is Hakim Green on the Hakim Green Show. We have a very special guest that's going to join us, Jazz Young. There we go. Bow. Former executive at Def Jam. Okay. I think that's it. Let me make sure. I don't know why this is not coming up. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think I got it, y'all. Excuse me. I think I got it. But this is very important to understand where they're going with this. Share screen. There we go.
And CEO of The Gathering Spot, a private networking group. He's been organizing events in LA, Atlanta, and DC to help connect Black women with opportunities.
We have heard already that there are people that are moving through the hiring process that wouldn't have.
But thousands more are still looking.
We're not looking for handouts, but we're like, hey, somebody do something. Speak up for us. And until then, we have.
Why should people, not just Black women, care about this?
If 7% of your body wasn't working, you wouldn't be able to function. If Black women are not able to be full economic
Malone. 41-year-old Audrey Malone lost her corporate job in facilities management about a year ago.
I stopped counting my job applications after I hit like 150 or something like that.
You applied to over 150 for
I've applied
jobs?
to more than 150 jobs. I just stopped counting at 150. And you look at it and you go, I'm not enough. What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?
Some economists say the proliferation of artificial intelligence and the elimination of DEI programs have negatively impacted Black women. And then there's the cuts to government jobs, where Black women are represented at twice the rate as in the private sector. All of it has contributed to the more than 300,000 Black women who lost or left their jobs in the first half of 2025.
We almost are like the economic shock.
Now, we got to understand, like, there's an attack on every level to exclude us from the systems that are available. Like I said, a lot of the opportunities that are there for us and were there for us were created by us. It was us leveraging our organization to open up these avenues, and they're disappearing. And we would have to pay attention to that. They said the immigrants were going to come take our jobs, and it wasn't the immigrants, it was AI. There was been a plan set on us to utilize technology to replace us, human beings in general, but of course, Black and brown are always the first to go. So we have to recognize that, organize around those issues, identify people who are still in power so we can connect, network, and build other avenues. That's why it's good that we're having this conversation especially with the guest that we have lined up, Jazz Young, because she comes, one, she's a Black woman, one, two, she comes through the channels of hip hop culture in the music industry. She understands the importance of working with other Black professionals, male and female, to execute plans, to get things done, to move an agenda. You know, she knows that, and she's created other avenues outside of her work with, of course, Def Jam, and you know, she's still a hip hopper. Actually, she's the hip hop professor, actually, but using education as a form of hip hop. Because remember, I always say, hip hop is not what we do, is how we do it. I think, you know, we get caught up in the music business, we get caught up in the rap side of it, but you know, these young, successful professionals, especially from my era, the golden era, you know, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, these were young Black and brown men and women who were opening up channels, opening up doors, like I said, executing projects, very successful at it, you know, making hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars for these corporations. And, you know, she has a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge that could go a long way in helping us bridge the gap from the opportunities that they're looking to take away from us. So I just thought that conversation, that setup leading up to this interview would be apropos, because things are dire, things are critical, but we got powerful people in place that can help us bridge gaps. So we need to highlight those people and give them some love, because they've given us so much love. What's up, Jazz?
Hey, happy Wednesday, family.
Yeah, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Even better now I got you on the show.
I'm grateful to be here. You look wonderful and amazing. God bless you.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. So I was having an earlier conversation, diatribe about the state of affairs for Black people in America, especially Black women, and how many jobs and opportunities have been lost in the last couple of years. There's just kind of been like an attack on us. Van Lathan did a piece talking about this guy, Edward Bloom, who's been committed from a legal level in eliminating affirmative action. They call it using race as a way to monies for HBCUs, grant opportunities for Black women, especially, getting rid of that. And, you know, it's critical. But I was saying that we have people with expertise and a knowledge who have done some big, huge, tremendous things and have power that, you know, we need to tap into. And I think that you're one of those people.
Well, that was kind. Thank you so much. Very serious conversation, very serious time in our lives, for sure. I read the other day that like close to 300,000 Black women with degrees lost their jobs. So yes, very critical time, very critical conversation. And thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for thinking of me.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I've known you for so long, but I want to learn more about you. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Queens, Queens, New York. Yep, Merrick and 108th, born and raised. I went to IS 59. I went to Hillcrest High School for all of our Queens folks in here. And then, early 90s is when I went to Howard.
Okay. Now, how was that Howard experience?
Oh my God. Insane.
Everybody thinks I went to Howard. I got so many friends that went to Howard. Of course, the Howard homecoming is always a destination, but the Howard experience, please.
I always say in every conversation that it literally changed my life, right? I feel like, my experience at Howard University, and maybe not then, but in retrospect, it gave me, the voice that I have today. It gave me courage to advocate for myself. It gave me, freedom to be me, right? And I'm really grateful for that time. Those 4 years at Howard in undergrad really, really, really changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm grateful for it. Wow. You got to see people teaching you who were you. You had Motown on the exams. You got to meet other people from different parts of the diaspora. And then I always say, took bits and pieces of all those experiences, and that's what definitely made me.
Wow, yeah, like that was a very special time in the early '90s, and I went to the hip hop conference. Big shout out to Hawk Islam. Big shout out to Beta.
Yes,
Jamel Ridgeway. Yeah, and
love, the originator.
And then Ron Lawrence. My boy Ron. Everybody, Raz, Mitty. That's quick Guru. That's why everybody thinks I went to Howard. Matt Middleton.
What a time to be alive. In retrospect, too, though.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
But being there, though, because a lot of hip hop, like the launching pad for a lot of hip hop was Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we talked about the hip hop conference, but, how did you, in terms of, working in the music industry, getting a job at Def Jam, like, where'd your love for music and hip hop culture come from?
So I think that I've always had it, right? I looked at pictures like when I was 2 and 3 years old. I had headphones on, standing in front of the, the big like furniture stereo. I look back at Christmases, and my parents gave me like the kid multimedia at the time. I just loved music, I guess, my entire life. And the memory started about being in the music industry was when I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 5th grade, right? PS, where did we go? PS 115 in Queens, right? And what happened was we had career day. Everyone was like, because kids, we all know, like, go to the doctor, go to the lawyer, go to the teacher. And me, I was at the band. Like, it was a guy who was a part of this band. And I remember they sang that song, Music blows my mind, it blows it all the time. I remember that like it was yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, what? Like, it was insane. And I just remember just like, wanting to be a part of it. And then, during those formidable years, I remember being a part of the Black Spectrum Theater. For us in the boroughs, we may know this, right? It was a theater that was inside Roy Wilkins Park. Sometimes they would come into my school and do after school programs, but they said I was always dramatic, right? So I guess that I'll hold that. But I remember going to these workshops and going to the theater in the park on the weekends and just learning about the craft. I think I tried dancing at one, like, remember Bernice Johnson in Queens?
Okay.
That name, the ballet school. I think I went there, but I felt like that wasn't for me. I tried it maybe one time, but that wasn't for me. But I just, stuck to the arts and drama. But I guess early on, I realized that I didn't want to be necessarily in front like a performer, right? But I definitely knew that I wanted to have something to do with, the music industry. And I remember, now I don't remember what year this was. It was probably like 81, right? And so I remember everybody was talking about Russell Simmons is shooting this movie in Manhattan, and everybody was going because they was looking for extras in the crowd, right? It was an amazing time. It certainly was. And I'm so grateful for it. And so what happened was my mother would not let me go. So my cousin went, and you could see her in the crowd shot in Crush Groove. And I'm like,
DJ was my name. Yo, I work out to that scene.
And it's the truth. Like, I watch it still to this day, back to back to back. I'm like, look at Chad Elliott. Big shout out to Chad Elliott.
Chad Elliott?
Yeah, because remember Chad Elliott, he was baby Chad, and not baby Chad, but remember when they thought that Fat Boys thought that he won and they won.
Right.
That was Chad Elliott.
Oh shit.
Yes. Could you imagine? That was Chad Elliott.
The history is deep. So there's a few things that you said in this run that I gotta lock into, right?
Yes.
But when you say Chad Elliott and who he is to hip hop culture, the music industry, production, his that's a whole nother level. He's in Crush Groove. You guys are kids. Your cousin's in the movie in this scene that had like such an impact on me. Like you just talking about it, I got goosebumps on my arm.
I still watch it.
I'm from Jersey, right? So, you know, you got Kiss FM, you got WBLS. So we locked in, but it's like an imagination thing.
Yes.
You see Run DMC, you see Crush Groove, and you're like right there. You say Russell Simmons did auditions at Roy Wilkins Park. Okay, wait a minute. Now I got to circle back because the earlier conversation, right? Talking about.
I'm taking your picture too.
Levers of power that we were able to gain because of the civil rights movement in the 60s. Right. Channels of power that gave us opportunities, helped us create an environment where we could grow excellence. We can grow creative excellence. We can grow business excellence, right? And you say Roy Wilkins Park. And you know who Roy Wilkins is.
Right.
And you talk about these programs that you were involved in as a child that help you nurture who you are today. That had to be fought for and gained. It wasn't just like people really weren't trying to, in terms of power. So
because it's around the corner from, you know, in those 70s, we all watched those documentaries about how the Blacks had moved, you know, from Harlem and the South, and they were kind of migrating to Queens, and they still didn't want us there, right? And so, you know, Adelaide's Park and St. Albans and all of those places, you know, where Duke Ellington actually lived in St. Albans, like all these things, right? And so looking at the history of Queens and understanding the value of what, you know, they're not even ancestors, they're forefathers and fathers, right? Because they were literally living at the time that I lived, which was insane, you know, to get us those programs and such. And I think that, and this is a great conversation because in retrospect, what happens is you look back and you don't really realize that we were still living in the midst of that immediate struggle. And it's just so powerful, you know, and then I just always go back and say, you know, sometimes, you know, God, am I doing enough, right, to continue to push the meters forward? Because these things happened in our time, right? And so my mother, God bless the dead, was born in 1938. And she, you know, had to fight, you know, all of these things, especially when we moved to Queens, and then just seeing the progress. But you don't really see, you know, I guess you don't really see it until it's out. Like I always say, Hakim, that I came from an era where there was, you know, one black show on TV. And if there was somebody black on TV, you screamed to the whole house. You ran to the TV.
It was special.
It was a special time. So just to see that, you know, and we are, you know, we're not far from it.
No.
And we probably right now and today we almost back there. So what are we gonna do?
Right. So that's why this conversation is so important. I'm glad you're on, but I still want to get through some more of your history because, you know, you're talking about Queens. I had T.L. Cross on here. I don't know if you're familiar with T.L. Cross.
I know T.L. Well, yep, I'm very familiar with him.
Yeah, what he does with his channel and exposing the history of our culture and how important Black culture is and how we've contributed so much. He being from Queens, I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about you know, his stories, The Rock. We talked about, of course, LL, Run DMC. You know, just how much Queens has given to hip hop, especially. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, growing up in Queens is what gave me, you know, my heart for hip hop, right? I'm from South Jamaica, so Merrick Boulevard and 108th Avenue. But my grandmother, actually the family house at that time, when they first moved from Harlem to Queens, was literally right around the corner from The Rock, right? And so I had an Uncle Lee and Aunt Mary. My uncle passed, but my aunt, she's still alive. So they lived literally on Farmers, right above the second storefront, like a couple of steps from The Rock. So I used to be there almost, you know, every day in the summertime, you know, just, you know, paying attention to the culture and understanding really the value of, well, but not back then. You know, it was a love for it, right? And so just watching, you know, hip hop bloom, going to these park jams and seeing all of these people is like, oh my God, this is for me. And then, you know, hip hop, right? And so I have like these vivid memories of, you know, The Rock. And I don't think I can find any pictures of it, but I remember like, you know, jumping double dutch at my grandmother's house, sitting out in front of the store all day on Farmers, but also going back over to, you know, where I was from, you know, South Jamaica, Queens, and, you know, going to those park jams and on the summer nights, like just an amazing time for hip hop. And then, you know, proactively what happened was I knew that I wanted to be in the music industry somehow, right? So when I got to Hillcrest High School, a lot of people don't know this, right? But there was a DJ named DJ Johnny Wishbone. Big shout out to Johnny Wishbone.
Hold on a second, hold on. That's my brother.
That is, he is my little brother. He's my little big brother.
What? We talk regularly. That's my dude.
So he called me a few weeks ago, was like, yo, when I look up my thing, you're on it. So I literally in high school. So when I got to Hillcrest High School, right? You know, Steve Azor was there. There was a young lady that named Radia, who's now a big attorney here in Washington, D.C. They were dancers for Salt and Pepper, right? Because of Steve, right? And so Johnny Wishbone, I managed him in high school. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. He was just like, you got to come with me. You got to go to, I remember getting on the train and going to Long Island City to Herbie's office to try to negotiate for him. You know, when he was remember in Bob Got It Going On with No Job. And he was in the video. I think it was that Express. What video was that? But he was in that video. I went to go negotiate for him. When I went to Howard,
this is early. This is like 80 something.
I graduated from there in 90. So this is like 86 to 90.
Wow.
And so he got, you know, him, you know, driving around, doing gigs, not making no money, but learning and being out in the culture, just, you know, insane. And so, but when I went to Howard, we had a mutual friend, Glamour, God rest his soul, that we used to remember. I don't know whether you remember Dwayne. He went to Howard as well. He passed, God bless him. And so what happened was we were both bringing him down, bringing John, you know, Todd down, and doing parties, right? And so, you know, in that area, and that's how I really started my career. I remember one time, well, I'll go back. One time when I was home on spring break or home on, you know, for summer, I remember going to the my friend, she lived across the street from Springfield Park, right? And so we went out there one night, thought it was cute in the park jam, and then Biz Marquis shows up, and he brings out rest in peace, Biz. And so he's like, yo, I've got my little brother out here today, and it's freaking Redman. It's freaking Reggie.
Home team, Jersey.
And so I remember that night like it was yesterday because we were in the park. Reggie was on the mic, and then at some point somebody started shooting. And so I remember I had to get back.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Huh?
The more they stay the same. And so I think we ran into my friend's house, but when it was clear, I think I had to walk far to get back to Merrick to go take the bus home. So I remember all these things, these memories, and it just sparked my love, you know, for hip hop and the music industry.
Wow. Yeah. Now, you know, when you got to the music industry and after that, how'd you actually get to work at Def Jam?
And like when I got to Howard, I knew that I wanted to be in the music industry, but there were no like majors back then. So my major was mass communications, and I did everything that I could. Like, you know, if there was an opportunity, an internship, somebody coming to campus, somebody performing, the radio station. Back then we had a couple of regional offices in DC. So I remember, you know, interning for folk. I was going to do whatever, right? In order to, you know, to get in this, you know, music, whatever this music industry was. One day I saw a paper sign hanging up on one of the hallways that said, do you want to be in the music industry? I think somebody has a picture of it somewhere. Maybe Jamel Vita does. I think that she does. She's a historian. She did the homecoming book for that year. So what happened was I I saw a sign that said, "Do you want to be in the music industry?" And I went to the meeting, right? And there was this guy named Kevin Mitchell. Big shout out to Kevin Mitchell.
Kevin Mitchell, big shout out to Kevin Mitchell.
Big guy, big. So he gave me an opportunity. So we had this little crew. Young Guru was a part of that crew. Could you imagine, like, all these people? There's a guy named Jim Nice was in that crew. He's in DC. He used to manage the Lean With It, Rock With It boys, right? Okay. Sydney Margetson was in that crew.
Sydney.
Good old family.
Wow.
Came out of that little Def Jam internship thing, right? And so what happened was, I guess I used to, go to the clubs all night with Kevin Mitchell, circle back, go to class. And then I was like, this is for me. Like, and so, trying to juggle. I had a job too. I was hustling. He would be taking pictures of us with the posters and hustling these artists in LL and EPMD and all the people that Def Jam was bringing, right? Yeah. And so the summer before my junior year, I interned in New York. So imagine me walking into 298 Elizabeth. And it was still Rick Rubin's house, right? I remember like it was the very first day I saw Rhonda Cowan in her car. She had like a blue car, right? And I saw her sitting in her car, and it was still Rick Rubin's house. So first and second floor. And then I remember I had like this blue pleated skirt on. I remember because I took the E train, right? And so what happened was, there's a lot of stories, and I don't want to be on here boring you to death.
Nah, it's all good. I'm here for all the stories. But we got to get to the now as well. Yes. But you could take your time. I'm in no rush. I'm enjoying the whole ride. I do want you to, because you say Rick Rubin's house.
Yes.
Right. And when we hear Def Jam, especially for the younger generations of people not familiar with the 80s and the 90s, don't understand the birth of Def Jam and Rick Rubin's pivotal importance to it.
Yes.
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yes. So Rick Rubin was this amazing super producer, a white guy, amazing, like a prodigy that, literally started Def Jam in his dorm room at NYU with Russell, right? Russell Simmons. And so they grew, to this certain extent. He was doing all the producing, Russell was doing the promotions, and it was like this amazing partnership. So a lot of those early records, Rick Rubin produced records, especially those LL Cool J ones, right? And so what happened was, by the time I came, it was summer, I want to say 92, maybe summer 93, right? He had this brownstone in, the Village, right? And so it was like 3 floors. The first floor was Chris Lighty, God rest his soul, Rush Management. And then the second floor, it was Julie Greenwald and Lyor Cohen, right? And then the third floor we weren't allowed to go on. That was where, Rick Rubin lived at that point. And then there was another office. So that was RAL, like Russ Associated Labels, right? And then Russell had another office on Broadway. And so that office had like, A&R was Def Jam, right? And it had, all of the, the original people, like a Heidi Smith, right? Carmen and all of those amazing women that paved the way, and Marjorie Clark, God, my soror, Marjorie Clark, big shout out to my soror. But she's the one who started those Def Jam parties at the pier. Marjorie Clark, can't nobody take credit for that, and I hope she sees that. Actually, we're gonna send this to her.
Yeah, we're gonna make clips up, and this will be a clip.
Yeah,
please go in.
Marjorie Clark, she's the one who started the Def Jam parties at the Christmas parties at the pier. Big shout out. People like them paved the way, and so people like Darcel Lawrence, who rose and rose to fame with Irv Gotti. So all these people were there, and I just soaked it in, and I worked, right, and I hustled, and so became one of the only interns. So I became in charge of the interns, right? I remember I always tell the story when do you remember LL Cool J pink cookies in a plastic bag?
Getting crushed by buildings.
Getting crushed by buildings. What happened was, I remember working on that promo, so I had to put thousands of pink cookies in plastic bags, and I had to put them in a bag and get on a train with tokens and deliver them to all of the tastemakers at the time in New York City.
Wow.
So all of those crazy stories that people be like, you did what? There's no swipe, there's no car. That was before we really got crazy with the car service, but they sent me on the
hold on, stop. Pause. Well, one, car service, how important that was in the music industry back in the day.
Jeez.
Car service was everything, especially for cats that lived in Jersey.
Yep, car service was grateful for that car service and everything.
Yeah, but more importantly, women in the early days of hip hop, early days of Def Jam, and though hip hop is considered a male dominated activity, it's really a lot of women who are responsible for making things go.
Very true.
You name Marjorie Clark, Rhonda Cowan, and a bunch of other folks, but just like you guys working together. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say Taryn Mitchell. She one of the first publicists that was on MTV. She's actually became my mentor in education. She got me a job at Monroe University before I was at Monroe for a decade before I came to Howard. So there are women that really paved the way in the music industry, and I'm grateful for them. Like, we literally stand on their shoulders. Like Johnny Walker. Oh my God, big shout out to Johnny Walker, one of the first Black women, in radio. And she definitely, they all paved the path for us. And I always say that even though this is like a young girl's game, I'm a unicorn right now. Just grateful that I'm able to, thrive and survive because it's peaks and valleys, right? And I always say that it's peaks and valleys. But yes, that's the brief portion of that story.
Wow. Yeah. Now the projects you worked on, we talked about LL, Pink Cookies and Plastic Bag, getting crushed by a building, that whole campaign. But you got Slick Rick, you got I would assume EPMD.
Yep.
Redman you mentioned earlier. Now
I didn't do Redman, but
no Red and Meth.
No, I supported, yes, but so back then I was one of the so when Def Jam stopped being independent, right? Went to Sony, right? I'm just trying to remember the traces. I think that after we left Sony, when we went to Polygram is when we started to, be a little bit more corporate. And I was the promotions coordinator at the time during all those projects, right? And so then they had a product manager, Jason Jackson. Big shout out to Jason Jackson.
All the time.
He was a trap. I love him. And so I became a marketing assistant, and then a few months later became one of the first projects that Def Jam had. And so from there, I worked. I worked. DMX, all of the DMX. I still work for Rough Riders. Shout out to Wah right now. That was just now. Podine, shout out to Podine. I'll call you when I get off of this call. But I still, because you create, you have family that you actually become family with over these years. So I worked, the DMX, all besides Grand Champ, I think. I worked EPMD, all of those EPMD albums, Foxy Brown, those first Jay-Z albums were mine. Who else? I want to say, Slick Rick, who's, Slick Rick is literally, and his wife Mandy, literally my kids' godparents, literally after all these years. So, you make these, relationships and you push the meters. And back then I always say that, you're excited, right? Excited doing what you do, but then you don't really realize, right, that, these things were iconic moments, or these people were going to be like, I knew Jay-Z, everybody know Jay-Z was a star, obviously, but for him to be like one of the most powerful and successful hip hop artists in the world, can't nobody ever see him. And I feel like, I'm grateful to be, a part of that journey.
Right. That's so. Jay's been in the news recently. Well, he stays in the news, and what I appreciate is that he stays in the news mostly for his business ventures, especially with what happened with the Super Bowl halftime. I don't think every Super Bowl halftime is right and exact.
Yeah.
he hasn't missed at all.
At all. Amazing, controversial, talented.
Yeah, now the controversy part though.
Yep.
All right, so I want to be delicate with this, because it's really there's the culture, and you talk about how you came up in the culture, even your description of your cousin going to the Russell Simmons audition for Crush Groove, but then how many years later you're actually at Def Jam?
Insane. Right. Insane. Like freaking insane.
You not being able to go, did you visualize? Like, with you not being able to go, were you visualizing what might be going on at this audition?
I was like, and I think it was just like, everybody come, get in this crowd scene or whatever. And I feel like, just to see it into fruition and see her in there, I cried. Like, I literally cried because I'm like, I was supposed to be there. Like, that was my time, like literally, oh my gosh. And so what happened was, to see it, and I don't think my mother let me see it right away, right? So when I finally saw it, I'm like, oh my God. Every scene, every situation, those fat boys, right? Because I'm this overweight, Black girl from South Jamaica, Queens. Like, I'm this chubby girl. So I related, right? I related to LL Cool J, being at Andrew Jackson High School, the cover of Bigger and Zephyr, like all these things, right? Was that Bigger and Zephyr?
No. He stand on the fence on the car.
Yeah. Well, so one of those, but just seeing all those things, and all these. Well, it wasn't too many years later, but like becoming friends with Run DMC and like seeing them in action. I was on stage with Run DMC and Aerosmith. Like, do you understand? Like, people will never. Well, like, let me tell you something. Like, even now, right? Even these rap, marketing girls now, like they do their thing, right? But those iconic moments, like they'll not, like you can't. It'll never happen again. And so I'm just like, oh my God, thankful, for that journey. And I didn't take enough pictures. I didn't, take enough video. But, trust and believe that I was literally on stage watching Aerosmith and Steven Tyler and DMC and Run DMC. Like, could you imagine?
It's crazy. So the reason why I took you back there is because, we all have those same types of experiences, right? Everybody, including Jay-Z, right? Where we were kids, right? And we were seeing this thing and we wanted to be that, be around that, be a part of that, right? And it's arguable that no one's did it bigger and better than Jay-Z.
Ever. I don't even think that that's arguable at this point. Like, numbers don't lie. Like, numbers don't lie. Like, I'm just like in awe. I think he's amazing. I think that he was a shrewd businessman. I love everything he did. And I just like insanity. Like, when I watch, right, of course I don't have Jay-Z's number, but I speak to Lenny S all the time. And I'm just like, I'm in awe of, everything that you guys are doing and, the progression and the progress and the mark that they're making now, like major. And I'm just, I'm so proud, right, to be a part of that journey for sure.
Right. Now, there's another side to that, though. Because of, and it's not just this conversation, but there's a lot going on in hip hop right now. There's hip hop, there's American culture and capitalism. There's how things function, how things work, right? And then the line between how do we exist in this thing, be this successful with our hands clean. Now, Jay, in this interview, he kind of, how could I say, washed his hands.
I'm not going to talk about none of that. I'm not going to respond to any of that. I always tell people I'm never going to, every interview I do, I'm not going to touch it. I think that Jay-Z is brilliant. I think that what he's doing at Rock Nation is dope. And the last thing I'm going to say is that
Can I use myself? Can I use myself?
No, we're gonna move
Use
forward.
myself. Let me know. Just for the.
And he pushes the culture forward.
I'm not. It's not about Jay-Z. This is not about Jay-Z. It's not about Jay-Z.
So you're changing the subject, and
no, it's not. No, because you don't want to talk about Jay-Z. So we're not gonna talk about Jay-Z. I don't want to talk about Jay-Z. Right? Like I agree. Not if anybody has done it bigger and better than Jay-Z. Right? So all right. I have a song called Madism.
I remember that song.
Right. Big song. Big song. Right. Relatively speaking. It's about weed.
Yep.
Right. Now I was a school teacher from 1990 to 94. Right. And in doing that project on Capitol Records, I really didn't want my first single to be talking about weed. When we sent the press out to the DJs, overwhelmingly the choice was Madism as the single.
Okay.
Right. Now there's a balancing act that I have to play. The involving myself, not just with the song or not just with the art per se, but in a structure that's really not designed for the overall benefit. And that seems to be the narrative Madism. You know, smoke, get high, the over-sexualization of women. We tend to play different positions for the capitalist structure that's not all the way right. There's a balancing act that goes on. How do we balance that?
Accountability. So for me, right, accountability. What does that mean? Making sure that you give back to the community, making sure that I'm an educator. Like my primary job, right now is I am an educator. What opportunities are you giving back to the generation? How are you training them? How are you allowing them to set the path for, their next generation? And so I believe that for me, I'm creating an ecosystem of accountability, especially with these college educated students, right? And so letting them understand that, to whom much is given, much is required, and continuing to push the meters, while celebrating. So someone told me a little while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, that, hip hop can't stay the same in the same place. It can't, right? We got to celebrate these kids and how they are creative in their way. Does it mean that because they're not spitting like, we were spitting in the 1990s and the 2000s and 20, all of that, does that make it not hip hop? Or do we have to respect their creativity while being the elders in this? And, becoming an elder in hip hop, becoming, historian and storyteller, just making sure that you tell viable and real stories, because there's a lot of people, especially in education, that, are fans of hip hop, but you never lived it. And so being able to tell that firsthand experience, the truth, right? Then that, you're doing the right thing and giving these kids the facts. And so that's what I stand on. Not a lot of people were in these rooms. And, me being aware of that and, giving back is, what makes us accountable.
Right. So I have to say, in hip hop is not what we do, is how we do it.
Right.
So it's hip hop.
And we got to support progression as well. And creating ecosystems of you have a thought on that?
No, absolutely. No, you took the words right out of my mouth. You kind of summed it up in a nutshell. But your position as an educator and bringing the spirit of hip hop as an educator. Hip hop is not what we do, is how we do it.
Right.
A lot of times we look at hip hop as just rap music or just selling records.
It's our culture. It's how we live, breathe, eat, and sleep. And I always say I'm thankful that, I raised kids on the back of hip hop. I've traveled the world on the back of hip hop. And I'm just, if you've done those things, even with the peaks and valleys, right? You definitely just got to be able to, contribute back to the ecosystem. And I just feel like, education plays a great part of it. Did you hear about my Cardi B class that I'm launching at Howard?
I did. Yes. Well,
and
I want you to the VRTEXX Center talk about that. And then, okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and I'll be quick because I see we running out of You got to invite me back for part 2 one day. And I'm so, again, thank you so much for thinking of me. Like I knew Hakeem. I remember I saw you one day at I mean, of course I saw you all the time, right? But a vivid memory of you is, what video was this? You came because Benny Boone was shooting this video in one of the abandoned buildings in that's worth like $30 million now in Brooklyn. By
Brooklyn. It was
PMD maybe?
It was the remix to Bone Crusher.
Was it?
I think it's the remix to I
don't think it was
the building in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you, spending the day. That was one of the days I remember. I've seen you a million times, obviously, but that was like one of my vivid memories.
Our earliest history was I've known you from Def Jam. I want to say at VRTEXX.
Yep, VRTEXX.
And then on to 8th Avenue.
For sure.
The Polygram building, yeah. And
amazing
then and I ran into you in Hoboken one time.
Yep, when I was learning with one of my former business partners, Larry, who's like my family. Shout out to the Chicken and Rib Crib. I apprenticed there before I opened my restaurant in Teaneck, New Jersey.
So the Chicken and Rib, that spot was like my favorite spot. I used the studio not too far from there.
Got it.
I was like, yo, it's a chicken spot right there on Washington Avenue, right? Is it Washington Avenue?
Yeah.
It's the main Washington. Why is that Washington Avenue? So we go. The first time I was hooked, went back over and over and over again. And then I seen you there. And I'm like, oh, wow, Jazz. What's up, Jazz?
Yes.
And then I moved out to Teaneck and I'm driving down Teaneck. And I'm like, wait a minute.
It's similar.
Yeah. No.
Yep. Larry taught me how to run this chicken business. An Italian guy.
Dope. Oh my God! I'm talking about the recipe.
He reopened, by the way. Big shout out to Larry. So he's in what part of New Jersey is that? Not Montclair, but a little bit further south. It's called Urban Chicken and Ribs. Look him up. I'll send you the link. Shout out to Larry because he's still going and popping. He's brilliant. Where I took a break from the restaurant building business. I always say that I'm going to open one here in DC, but Larry, consistent and probably, multi-millionaire by now. The chicken was amazing. He definitely taught me the game.
Delicious.
Right? Yes. So what happened was when I was intern, I told you I graduated from Howard. Lyor Cohen and Julie Greenwald gave me a job at Def Jam Records, making like no money, right? I was so grateful to be there. I can't even tell you, right? And so I was the promotions coordinator. So what I would do is right before, maybe like about a month or two before graduation, I got the job and I would, go to my classes and then I would go work at Def Jam because I wanted to keep the job, right? I did that for about a month or two. And then I came back to Howard for graduation. And then, that Monday I was there and it was like our lifestyle. We just did everything, surrounded by there. And so that next year, I started to do panel discussions and I was invited back to Howard in the School of Business and did a panel on the music business, talked about my journey. And a young man tapped me on the shoulder. You know how they had the line of folks waiting to speak to you after. I want to say he even cut the line. Just a, dope young man. And so it was a gentleman named Julian Petty. Julian Petty came in. So I gave him this internship. He interned with me at Def Jam that summer. And I gave a bunch of people internships, but not like, I gave a bunch of special people, internships. But Julian, it's a long story, Julian. He's so amazing, so smart, so dope. So fast forward all these years, he is the head of business and legal affairs for Warner.
Wow.
The top 3 labels, right? Head of business and legal affairs. And he called me during COVID, was just like, yo, I just sent something to your, inbox. What are your thoughts? And so I'm like, all right, give me a minute. I'll look at it. It was like, he lives in LA. So it was like the middle of the night. Right. And so, I read it and it was this, a brain dump for this Warner Music Blavatnik extension. I was just like, that's dope. Like, that is super dope. Like, why didn't any of us think of that in the 30 years? Like, it was amazing. So he got us funding and he asked me, did I want to move at the time, right? I was the administrator for Monroe University in New York, right? And I was, I wouldn't say I was, comfortable, but I was comfortable, right? I was, living in northern New Jersey, commuting back and forth to the Bronx, and just, I was the administrator for, this amazing, they had 2 campuses, one of the largest educational providers outside of CUNY and SUNY, right? And so Julian was just like, would you come down? I was like, nah, I think that I might, advise, right? And then ended up, interviewing for the job, circled back around 8 months later, accepted the position. So I moved back to DC in August of 2022.
Okay.
And it's just been, an incredible, journey from there. And I just need to stop, like literally pause real quick. I do a lot of things. I am a lot of things. And I just want to say, first and foremost, I am a mother, right? I am a mom. I have a son named Jackson, who is big shout out to Jackson.
Big shout out to Jackson.
He's a super handful. He is in the 9th grade here in DC. And then I have a son named Francisco, everybody probably sees him more in the photos because Jackson don't like to take a bunch of photos. But Francisco, he is a junior at the Howard University.
Oh, wow. Legacy.
Yep, my legacy. I'm so happy. He's studying sports management. He has an internship in monumental sports. He will be a sports manager. And I just wanted to really pause. And I do this in every interview because, we ride, right? And I do it for them. And they have to come, like I always say, their life sometimes has been, they've had to share me at times, right? And so, just always shouting them out. But, first and foremost, I'm a mother. I love my kids. We ride. And then, I try to give them as many experiences. I feel like their whole life was, built around it, born in hip hop. I have a picture of them. It was too cute. I did a show with EPMD at Villanova. This is long after we all left Def Jam. And I got a picture of them wearing like these little Burger King crowns with black shirts looking at, at the side of the stage. I was like, if these ain't hip hop kids, Jesus. But, I appreciate them and their patience with me at times because it wasn't always easy, fighting your way back, right? We talked about those hills and those, those peaks and those valleys. Hakeem.
Wow. You said fighting your way back. Of course, you left Def Jam, and then there was some time.
And I had to make, rebrands, make my way back. You
got the entrepreneurship with the. I'm sure
that's an identity outside because I was always Jazz from Def Jam. So that when I'm not at Def Jam, it's like, who am I? What am I, what am I doing? So I had to pave a way for myself and my kids, rebranding, entrepreneurship, hustling harder.
Yeah.
And then, that at that time, some of us had gotten defrauded. So I lost, a bigger, my nest egg, right?
Wow.
After I worked all of those years, I literally had to start from zero.
When was that though?
That was 1990. That was 2004. Do you remember when the Murder Inc. When Irv got arrested and all of the things? The same person that told on him stole our money. Ha! So I wasn't the only one who was defrauded, but I think that I was one of the ones who got hit the hardest. So I literally and guess what? I found out the day. I wouldn't say that the day that I left Def Jam, but around that time. And I remember to go. I was going to put a bid on a building in Teaneck, New Jersey, like the street down from the building I ended up renting. That storefront on the corner. 5 storefronts where the laundromat was or is, and now it's a T-Mobile store and all of that.
Across the street from
it's from the church, across the street from like the body shop in the church. So on the same side of the street. So there's the first 5 storefronts. I had put a bid on that, they accepted it. And on the way to put the bid on the building, I got a phone call saying, she stole everything. Not only did she tell on Earth, but she stole everything. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm about to go meet this girl, for her to, she was our financial advisor, to put a down payment on, this building. not only did I not get the building, but we ain't have no money.
Damn.
So, yeah, did you know that story?
No, I mean I know about the Earth thing with the, I know, and then you know,
I'm not gonna say her name. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't want
but
to.
she know who the heck she is.
Yeah, I thought there was a I had it all twisted. I thought there was a lawsuit and money was lost in a lawsuit. No, this person.
She literally stole it because she was our, was our business manager. And when you from the hood and you want to definitely do good in terms of like, next level, we thought that trusting her, would be the next level in helping us to grow this money. And I ended up losing, everything that I had worked for. And I had to come back from zero. But God did.
Yeah, God did. Absolutely. Yeah. Now that's powerful. The music business, there's so many, different angles that things come at you from. It is what it is. You're there being, the facilitator of creativity and art. But then as a business person, there's a business side to it that doesn't always go. Even, Def Jam is the big dog. Even the big dogs go through shit. And there's peaks and valleys, as you would say. That's crazy. I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah. And so I wasn't the only one, but I probably got, stolen the least, but it was most impactful to me. Right.
Yeah.
And, just, going through that and trying to sue her. And then I'll tell you the rest of the story off camera.
Yeah, offline. Yeah, no, for sure.
It's been like, I'm sorry, I'm listening, sir.
No, I'm not. Blavlatnik said I want you to get back to that. Just hip hop as an educational tool. But then also is it VRTEXX or VRTEXX?
VRTEXX. Yeah, VRTEXX.
We have to talk about VRTEXX because, connecting bridges, nationally and internationally is something that's crazy next level. So I want you to
thank you so much. And it was all in God's plan, right? Because when you say yes to God and you are obedient, he knows that you're a pure soul, the doors, like all of these things, a lot of these things that are happening, some of them, like of course you ask for, you work for, you make a goal for it, but just to receive these things and to hustle for these things, just grateful. And so what happened was came back to, Washington, D.C. to launch this center in August of 2022. The center, is far, I want to say far beyond, everything that I could imagine. Like I had a 5-year plan, but we far succeeded it. Like, a portion of it, obviously, because it's Howard. The other portion is because, it's this unique program. Right. And then the other portion of it is because people know that I'm back at Howard and, they know that I'm an executor. So they'll say, can you do this? And then I'm so hyped. And then Julian Petty has a million relationships. He's big dog. Shout out to the big dog, my boss, right? Julian Petty. He also owns a hip hop ice cream shop in Leimert Park. Him and his beautiful wife, who's also a bison. So, just things that push the culture. People think, like you said, that hip hop is not only, this only music. It's not. It's, the culture. It's other things. It's commerce. It's creativity. It's science. It's moving. And so what happened was, what I wanted to say was, I started, pushing the meters with this center. What we do is I like to say that I educate, excite, and empower students to become social justice warriors in the music business.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep. And so they get a social justice certificate in my program. You got to learn it. You got to know what to do and how to do it. They get data analytics certification, music industry standard. They get chart metric. Data analytics, and we have professors that come in and teach them all about the music industry, guest speakers, panel discussions, right? It runs concurrent or in parallel right now with classes, so you can't major in my center. It's called the Center of Excellence, right? And so they come, but I think I work them probably as hard as they work on their classes, right? We are very intentional. And so each year I get to select students and afford scholarship. There's $25,000 scholarships, to each student. I commend, the Warner Music Blavatnik, the Blavatnik Family Fund, Lynn Blavatnik, for, understanding that these students, are valuable enough to pour into. And so, we train them. And when they graduate from Howard University, they're able to go into these fields. Like I have a student who's the staff accountant right now at Coachella. Could you imagine that that's your life?
Wow.
I have another student who is the assistant band manager, graduated 2 years ago. He's the assistant band manager for Stephen Colbert.
Damn.
I have, and all from, giving them the tools that they need. I have students at Warner. I have students at, UTA and CAA and Live Nation, just, watching them at Interscope, just watching them to grow and be successful. It's just, there's no greater reward with a job. And so, the center is top music business school in the world for the past 4 years, according to Billboard. We're on that top music business school list. So imagine when we're able to offer a degree, we're going to just continue to do great work, just grateful,
Absolutely. Yeah. So just the importance of that. And because people don't think that what you just described is actually happening. And like I said, when we say hip hop, we think of all of these other things, but then there's all these other things that are not about the music business, not about rapping, that are opening doors for us to get involved and leverage. The earlier piece before you got on was all about, us being shut out of avenues, but like there are people like yourself who are in place to help open up doors, and it's for us, by us. It's it's us.
And with our allies, yes.
Exactly. With our allies are extremely important.
They are.
But when we think about, that little girl back in Queens who didn't get to go to the Crush Groove audition,
could you imagine
making a way to put herself in position to have a program that extends all the way to Ghana? Now, why Ghana? Like how that emerged?
I think that, I've traveled the world, I believe, like I said, on the back of hip hop, but for some reason, during that time, I didn't go to Africa, right? I went to Japan, I went to London, I went to Canada, I went to the islands, I went everywhere, every state, but I didn't go to Africa. So that's always on, someone's list. Well, my list, I was going to say, I don't call it a bucket list. I call it a to-do list, right? Because we got it done. Yeah. And so the quick story with Ghana is that a colleague of mine one day asked me she was hosting some, an artist. She's like, I'm hosting this artist from Ghana. Could you co-host them with me? And I'm like, absolutely. Because, I do think that it's, first of all, she good people. So I was going to do it, regardless. Right. But what happened was, I felt like, the music and how it should come to the center. Right. And so what happened was, the person came, we did this panel discussion, and then we also ended up having this little dinner after, right? And so me, you've known me for what, 25 years, 30 years, right? Yeah. And so I am, either I'm all the way some of my friend Zena, I don't know whether you remember Zena, she worked at Def Jam with us. She was like, you have the type of relationship that you have the type of relationship that people will walk in, they'll fall madly in love with you, or they'll hate you. There's no in between, right? And so with these people, fell in love with these people, only to find out that it was the CEO of travel and tourism for the government of Ghana.
Wow. Nice.
And so now he's my uncle, right?
Look at God.
Yep. And so shout out to Akwesi Ajaman. And so we developed this relationship. The next summer, they invited me over to keynote one of their cultural festivals called Panifest. And then, and I can start, I can tell you how this all came about. Please. What happened was, at first I was like, no, because Julian, I wanted him to go with me and he couldn't go. And I was just like, and so I was like, I can't go to Mr. Ajman. He was like, what do you mean? We told everybody you were coming. And I'm like, oh my God. So I just, quickly went, I bought my older son. My younger son didn't want to go. And so they literally, shut down the airport, dance for us at the airport, sit in the car. It was coming to America. Yeah. everything. It was insane. And so what happened was, he sent his government card for me. And then, they have this thing to where, you want me to talk about VRTEXX now?
Yes, I mean, do your thing. You get there.
Okay, so I'll
connect. They have this thing.
Okay, so we have this thing called Panifest. I spoke on it, but it was like this whole week full of like, all these things that I had never been to Ghana. So, they have like a funeral choral. I didn't know that W.E.B. Du Bois was buried in Ghana.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're like, you're the representative of the diaspora. When the kings go, you move, right? So I go and I lay this wreath on the casket or the tombstone. He's in this, enclosed. And then I'm like, okay, but it was like more than one stop during the day. The river of no return. It was like this big thing. And so, major things that life-changing. They had me to lay a wreath, right, on the tombstone of the very first enslaved woman that they shipped back from America, and she lays, I'm getting chills right now. She lays by the river of no return. So now they call it the river of return. And so, I laid it with the president beside the president of Ghana. And so I didn't really realize that, the full capacity of that situation because it was moving fast, right? And so after they're like, this is, and I lost it at that point. But, found myself personally vested in Ghana. During that first trip, they said that, Ghana needs, education. Ghana needs music industry. So I worked with the government of Ghana an entire year and produced a festival called the West Africa Music and Arts Festival. Beautiful. And again, bigger than anything that I could ever think of. 25,000 people show up. Black Sharif headlines. We partner with YFM. Shout out to Erskine. I love you. We're coming back.
Erskine Isaacs.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks out to Erskine.
Yes, the man, the cousin. And so, they put
That's your cousin?
Now he is.
Oh, no, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Now he is.
His
and
spirit,
so, and so there's an Erskine that works at the radio station in Ghana.
I got you. Okay. I was confusing people. I'm thinking booking.
And so he, helped us to put everything together, and it exploded. During that trip, I met a guy who was at the time the head of global A&R for Warner. The Warner Girls, Africa, they were going to come to the festival, but they couldn't make it. So they're like, oh, my colleague. I had never met this guy named Bello. Big shout out to Bello. Big shout out to Bello. He was the global head of A&R for Warner at the time. And they were like, oh, he's going to be in Ghana. He's in Ghana now, too. He landed a few hours ago. Big shout out to Ghana. But what happened was he came to the festival, and I guess he was just like, oh, it's some official shit, right? And so we developed this relationship. And, I got to be Global Power Player 2025. I'm a Billboard Global Power Player this year. So grateful. So grateful.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And so what happened was after 2025, I'm talking back and forth to Bello. And I was just like, you should give me a label. And he was just like, you're right.
You're right. Yes.
And then he, worked it out with ADA. So we are, distributed by ADA, Warner's global arm. And, because we are all family in, this ecosystem with Julian there. Big shout out to Raina Bass and Salim. I always say his name wrong. Buab. He, the co-presidents of Atlantic right now. They are the centers. I love them so much. They are the center, my centers, our centers, executives and residences. So they are instrumental in helping me to push the meters forward and supporting these students. And so because we're a part of this ecosystem, it just felt like, right. And so we launched it recently. I have a couple of artists that are on the horizon. But, definitely we'll have an album out by somebody this spring, this summer.
Anybody that you could give us a heads up? And who you?
Not Not yet. But real soon. Definitely a couple of global acts, kind of like, you know, to be the partner to this West Africa Music and Arts Festival. And you know me, I want to, you know, street music, like, you know, global street music from all over. And so, you know, yes, Queens, yes, you know, the boroughs, but you know, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and all those things. Yeah. I need the next Maluma.
You bring up Dominican Republic. My wife's Dominican, and her name is Jasmine.
That's why she's super special.
Yes, she
you're
is.
the special. You're the lucky one.
Exactly. She just is who she is. I'm lucky to have her in my life.
Yes,
absolutely.
What's up, Jasmine? Name twin. She has to be a beautiful, beautiful flower. My kids are half Dominican, and so their father was straight Dominican, like, you know, no English type, you know, like Dominican, like real. Wow. And so they you know, are definitely immersed in the culture. Like I let them live and dwell in that culture as well. So they're definitely, you know, have that duality. But shout out to Jasmine. Hi, pretty lady. Yeah. And so that's
and she does all my graphics, all my logos, all my marketing, all my So just to let you know.
Everybody was, so when I posted that, everybody was talking about that was dope. The HAKIM Green Show, dope.
Yeah, thank you. Jazzedup.com out there, you know, shameless plug. I gotta pick up the wife.
I love it. It's called what? Jazz It Up?
Jazz It Up. Yep. I'll send you a link.
Definitely send me the link.
Let you know.
Definitely running out of time, but I just want to so, you know, just the end of it is that, you know, launching and just, you know, all of these things and putting these things together, you know, not only, you know, I said today to myself, you know, it when you have leadership, right? Most times it's selfless, right? And if you can, you know, take sacrifices for it, you know, those are the things that matter most. You know, how many God's people can you serve, right? You know, and every day I'm like, you know, God, am I doing enough, right? Can I do more? And I know that I can. I'm grateful to do what I do, you know, as a job, but I want to continue, you know, to push the meters, you know, and there's certain things that, you know, you don't put on social media that you do to help the folk, or, you know, and it's not necessarily monetarily, you know, it's just, you know, what can you do in your you know, current situation to push the meters forward for the culture. And I'm grateful just to be here. And so I was on a call today, and the man was just like, Dad, what do you don't do? And I was just like, I'm over here hustling. Because, you know, because I had to come back from something.
Yeah. I got to just let you know, you talking about leadership. The other half of Channel Live, Tuffy, he just put me up on a book called Leaders Eat Last. This is today's conversation.
Wow.
Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. And it talks about, you know, what leadership is about: service, it's about giving, it's about, you know, leaders eat last.
Oh my God, I love that.
The whole topic of, you know, leaders and accountability. You mentioned accountability. So it's a method to the madness, and it's always for the positive, right? It's about showing folks that you can be in a place but still have an effect outside of the immediate place that people may perceive you to be in, right? So again, we talk about hip hop is not what we do, is how we do it, and how we're creating movements and pockets of power where people like yourself get to exist to help the next generation experience their power by leverage. You know what I'm saying? It's about relationships and all that good stuff. So what you said about leadership is like, God is good all day, every day. And you know, that was a message. Like, damn, we just had this conversation today about
that's crazy. And it's true. And it's true.
Yeah.
And it's so super true.
If leaders can't be held accountable, they can't be leaders.
Right. I live by that wholeheartedly. And this is like, you know, we learn every day. Leaders learn every single day. And I think that, you know, people don't want to really realize that. And I started to, you know, old Jazz would have been like, you know, like pushing the people, like, you can do this, like, come on, you got this, da, da, da. But now, you know, you just have to be, there's regular people in the world for a reason. So everybody won't be a leader. Everybody can't be a leader. And I'm just, you know, grateful, you know, to push forth these leaders, you know, to make sure that I'm doing my part. But, you know, I've learned a lot, right? A lot in terms of, you know, you can't force leadership. You can't. people have to be willing participants, right?
Yeah.
People have to, you know, understand what God has for them and why God has it for them. And, you know, I think that when we're able to, you know, have a great understanding of that, you know, as leaders or, you know, looking at leaders or curating leaders, you know, like I don't push all the students anymore. Like, I'm like, everybody, let's go, hustle, hustle, hustle. You know, the people that's going to hustle is just going to hustle. You know, sometimes I feel like, you know, leadership and, you know, being special can be taught sometimes, you know, or there's willing participants, but I also believe that people, you know, are born with certain lights.
It's brilliant. Thank you so much for, you're Howard alum.
Yes.
Roz Baraka.
Uh-huh.
And Mitty Baraka.
I love them.
Co-founders of a festival that we created in 2010, myself and Mitty and Raz, of course.
Yes.
24 Hours of Peace.
I watch it. Amazing.
All right, so we got to get you there.
I'll be honored. I was like, oh yeah, you did it, but you ain't never invite me.
There it is. Well, August 21st, we live and direct in the South Waternoak, New Jersey for this rendition of 24 Hours of Peace, and we got to have you there.
I am so there and grateful, you know, grateful.
Yes.
And thank you so much. Has your wife seen you? You know, of course she's seen the pictures with you in the dreads. You met her when you had dreads?
No. I met her in 2013.
Got you.
Wow. Yeah, 2013. I gotta get that right because
I love it.
If I don't get that date right.
Yep, you gotta get it right.
Yeah, I was already a baldy. I was already a bald head by the time we met. Yeah.
Got it. Send her my love and thank you so much for this conversation.
Yeah,
please invite me. I'm always down. I'll come home. I look forward to, you know, serving the kids, serving the next generation.
Love you.
And thank you for having me. Blessings to you.
The honor's all mine, yo. When you said yes to me, I was totally thrilled.
Oh my God, I'm grateful. Literally,
it's about excellence, and you represent excellence.
I try.
Execution, excellent execution.
And yep, that's the truth. I'm grateful, you know, because you don't get these situations. You know, you just gotta, you know, I want to say, make God proud. That's my theory. But thank you so much for your time. Send me this link. Blessings to you and your listeners. Thank you for everybody who tuned in for us today.
Yeah. And we're gonna chop up clips so we can get the message out, and we're gonna get people here to hear this interview in its entirety.
I love it.
Good. All right, Jazz.
Blessings.
Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.